Hello, YouTube. How you doing? Hope you've had a great week. Life has been good. It's been busy here. Actually, this is it's been an important week for us in some ways. Well, for me at least. We are closed for the first time in 6 months, and I have to say I'm grateful for a little bit of a break. Up until now, for the last 6 months, we've had an endless, we've always had clients here. We haven't had many. We've only averaged a couple of people at a time over most of the last 6 months. But since June, 5 months now, whatever it's been, since mid-June, we've had people here nonstop. And so normally we run about 10 weeks. This has been more like whatever it is, 22 or so, I think 24, somewhere in that range. So it's nice to have a little bit of a break. We had our last clients just leave yesterday, and it's great. We have so many other things going on here, and I've been talking about some of these other projects recently. But there's so many other things going on. It's nice to have some time to focus on those. One of them is we were completely full for December. We had a couple people now that aren't going to be able to get here. One wasn't able to get her passport renewed in time. Someone else, something along those lines. So we still, I think, have 1 or 2 spaces open if anybody wants to get here for December 19th. But lots of other projects happening as well. Some things I'm very excited about. I just came in from recording an introduction to the Academy for Vibrant Living, which is an online program which will be going live within the next probably 6 to 8 weeks. We'll actually be starting the course. We're going to be offering that course even sooner than that. So coming up very soon. Oh, I've got some loud kitties here, so hang on one second. I'm going to open the door. Come on in. Come on. Oh, okay. I'll leave that open. Actually, it's a little sad. It's very sad. I'm kind of used to it by now, but last Saturday morning, we had a guest leave, and we saw Princess, Chai and Ash's sister, for the last time. She disappeared. We don't know what happened to her. There's Ash. Chai just ran out the door a minute ago. And we haven't seen her since. So it's been 6 days. I've kind of lost hope that she's going to show up again. I hope she does, but unfortunately we're guessing that she was probably killed by some animal here. I don't know. There are birds of prey that will take cats, etc. Oh. Okay, so once again, we're having some issues here with Instagram, but that's okay. We're all good to go on YouTube. So I hope everyone's doing well. I'm glad to see everybody here. I'm going to jump right down to the first super chat, and then I'll come back up. If there's not another one immediately after that, I'll come back and respond to everyone I can see. Just a very quick, let's see, from Ugly London, Enrico, good to see you. Filthy Frank, looks to be another lockdown coming. Yeah, could be. It's happening already in some places. I think Costa Rica is going to do its best to avoid it, because our economy here depends on tourism, and there's been no tourism, to speak of now for many months. And the result of that has been disastrous for the economy. And so, Costa Rica certainly doesn't want to preclude people from coming. It might end up that way, but I think the country is going to do everything it can to prevent that from happening. So, all right. In the meantime, that's not working. I might as well take it down. Just give me just 1 second here. I'm going to charge my phone up since it's not getting online right now anyway. Again, I have to get online through a cable access, and it's, for some reason, I think it's the connector on my phone. It's a bit worn out. See, it's charging. That's good. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Gitanjali, good to see you. Namaste. Shalom Aleichem. Hi, Loren. What fasting is normal for the body to push mucus out? I'll come back to the questions if I can. I see your question. Yes, the body will push out mucus. Nosebleeds are not normal. They happen sometimes. They usually happen where there is already some trauma in the nose and perhaps some dehydration, which is common. Most people are dehydrated. So when we're dehydrated, tissue gets dehydrated. The tissue in the nose bleeds because of dehydration. When I moved from Washington, D.C., a very humid climate, to go to the Air Force Academy 42 years ago, hard to believe it's been that long. It was, going from a very humid climate to a very dry climate. And a lot of us, not just me, but a lot of people had nosebleeds because the tissue in the nose wasn't used to such dry air. Okay, that's just what happens. All right, Gunshy, good to see you from Australia. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're here. I appreciate your comments. Hello, Eric. Is the Fruit Festival still going to happen? The Fruit Festival this year is going to happen. It is scheduled, I don't recall now, I think it's Sunday to Sunday this year, the second week of March. We close on the 27th of February. And so I'm going to my calendar here. I believe, if I remember correctly, I should know this, but I don't. So I believe we have a retreat that starts, I think, on the 28th and then runs until the 7th. And then I think the Fruit Festival runs from the 7th to the 14th this year, if I'm not mistaken, Eric. But yes, we're still planning it. It's still going to happen. Obviously, if people can't travel, then it won't happen. And but the plan, or we'll put it off and we'll do it whenever we're able to. But the plan is for it to happen as scheduled. Zbubs, are people allowed to live on the nature preserve the way people would live in nature, like building a hut out of sticks, sleeping in it, eating fruit off the tree? No, unfortunately not. The nature preserve, we're going to have a community, and we're going to have a nature preserve, which we won't have people living in. That's just a preserve. Good day, Steve. Good day to you. Glad to see you. All right, so let's go to Zbub's question. Zbubs has made a $5 contribution. Said, I'm 33. What are the odds I'd remove any old waste with a week Skype fast? The odds are about 0. It will take 21 days, typically, of fasting correctly to eliminate the old material. So, what I would suggest to you is find a way to set up your life where you can take a month off, if that's the issue. If it's, there's really only 2 issues. One is having the time, and the second one is the cost. And if it's the cost, remember that for twice the cost of a week, a week with me is $500. For $1,000 up front, you can book a 4-week Skype fast, and you can pay the balance in 10 monthly installments of $100. That's US, not Canadian. But it's not that hard. I mean, frankly, folks, if you're really in a position where you can't find $1,000, I mean, there are ways to do it. Get creative. We have people who've come from all over the world, from 135 countries. People have come in, there aren't 135 wealthy countries. So we've had people here from all over the world, from second and third world economies, that have been able to find a way to make it happen. And that's with travel expenses and everything else. On Skype, it's doable. Now, time, I don't know what your schedule is, what's going on with that, but you're really going to need more time. And it's life-changing. 4 weeks with me, I guarantee anybody here, if you're coachable and willing to do what you need to do, okay, it's going to be life-changing for you. If you do what you need to do and do it correctly, what happens is truly amazing every time. Okay? All right, we've got some more super chats, so we'll come back. Stephanie Poliche is in the house with a $4.99 contribution. She says, good morning, Loren. So sorry to hear about Princess. Sending much love. Thank you. It's, if you've ever lost a pet, anyone, and I'm sure many of you have, you know how it feels. She was a sweet little kitty. We really loved her, and everyone did. And her absence is felt. I'm sure it would be different, probably much harder if she was the only one here. We have 5 cats. We had 6. We have 5 cats here still. And the other two kittens still spend a lot of time here with me. But yeah, it's rough. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, Ian, 44444 has made a 10-pound contribution and said, when I start eating of a day, I can't stop, but I don't eat upon awakening. I can go all day without food. So alternate day fasting gives me the overall good limited intake. Is this okay with optimal foods? It is. It's okay. It's not optimal. I mean, you know, my opinion is, I can only share my opinion. Hello, JJRU and Mia, good to see you. My opinion is that the best we can do is, see, let's just dissect this. And I've talked about this here before, but I realize not everyone is here every time. So, you know, the question is alternate day fasting, people swear by this. Is this really the best thing out there? Now, if you think about this, alternate day fasting, right? Ian is saying, hard for him to stop eating. Once he starts eating, it's just he wants to keep eating. So he's thinking, I fast one day, I eat the next. You know, maybe I can still start eating at 1 or 2 o'clock, perhaps maybe a little earlier. But then he eats for that day, and then he stops and fasts for a day. So he's compensating. If he's overeating, he's compensating, right? Now, let's say that on the day that you eat in, you wind up eating 2,000 calories. Okay. Yeah, let's say whatever the number. Let's say 3,000 calories. Okay, that might be more reasonable for most people. Let's say you eat 3,000 calories on the day you eat. You're hungry. You didn't eat the day before. You have trouble stopping, so you start eating. You eat 3,000 calories that day. The next day you eat nothing. 3,000, nothing. 3,000, nothing. Obviously, you're averaging 1,500 calories per day, but you're doing it one-day fasts, which, you know, it's a surface level cleanse. I mean, for people who eat poorly, they feel some benefit. But if you're eating really well, I mean, I've done many one-day fasts because I've been so busy, I haven't eaten anything. And you know what? It's like nothing. It's not a big deal. It's not like, oh, wow, what an incredible shift in my energy, my vitality, my health. No, there's nothing really noticeable from fasting one day if your body's clean and your diet is optimal. Okay? It's a superficial cleanse. It's a surface level cleanse. I mean, we see people having the most dramatic results after 21 days. So you're not going to see anything dramatic happening with a single day of fasting. But so you do that one day of fasting, no significant results from that. And then you force your body to consume twice as much as it really needs. Now, how do I know that it's twice as much as it really needs? Because you're eating an average of 1,500. I mean, if this works for you, you're not losing weight all the time, then what that's saying is your body is perfectly fine doing 1,500 calories per day. That's your average intake. Okay? And so on the days you're eating, you're forcing your body to process twice as much food as it actually needs. The question is that really useful? Okay? I'm not so sure that it is. I'm not so sure that that's really going to be the best thing for you. Now, something I want to say here, and that's it for your question. I hope that helps you. But before I forget, I wanted to move on to something else that just occurred to me. Every week, there's 1 or 2 people who say, I wanted to contribute, wasn't able to. You weren't able to figure that out. I just learned my team is so good. They're way ahead of me sometimes. So our Patreon is now up. It's actually been up for about 2 weeks. I didn't know that. I would have announced it last week. So there's going to be a link on all of the normal videos. I don't know if Guzelle can add a link here. I don't know how to do that. I mean, I'm so busy just making my calls, shooting the video, doing the things I need to do. I don't even have time to figure that stuff out. So on our other video, if you go to our YouTube channel, or if you go to Patreon and look for me, you'll find us there. You'll be able to make a contribution there if anybody that chooses to do that. Just so you know, because I'm having people asking me all the time, when is it going to be up? It's up. All right. If you want to use it, it's there for you. We're still figuring out exactly what we're going to do with that, but it is now up and accepting contributions for anyone that wants to contribute. Okay. Thanks everybody. Let's see. So we have at least one more. Looks like a couple more super chats here already. zbubs is back with a $5 Canadian and says, why shouldn't I attempt to remove old waste by eating optimally and sipping as much as my pain threshold allows. Well, I'm not really sure how to answer your question. That's kind of like saying, why shouldn't I attempt to build a skyscraper using matchsticks? I mean, you can attempt if you want to. It's never going to happen. I've worked with people, I mean, a lot of people who've been eating an optimal diet and sipping water for 10, 15, 20, 22 years. It's fasting is at least 1,000, if not thousands of times more powerful than anything else you can do. So you can attempt, but I don't think you're going to be very successful. Okay, the old hard material is not leaving your body by eating optimally. It leaves your body when it has the concerted your body has the concerted opportunity to break this stuff down and focus on hydrating it. Until that happens, I mean, I have never fasted anyone, even someone who was 22 years eating optimally. Okay, others 15, 16, 17, 18 years on an optimal diet. Not one of those people has ever come in here and not eliminated pounds and pounds of old hard material. So it doesn't mean you're not going to eliminate any of it. Maybe you will, but you're definitely not going to eliminate all of it. That requires fasting. You know, I mean, if you want the best results, you simply have to do what you need to do. Okay, I hope that helps. How much did they sip? It varies for each person. Are you talking about people that were eating? I mean, I'm not sure. You know, people that are eating, I mean, each person drinks a different amount. You know, the people that listen to me, I encourage most people to drink at least 3 to 4 liters a day until they get their body clean while eating, as well as, well, for fasting, it's usually 4 to 6 liters per day. But many people are going to be okay with 3 to 4 liters while eating, you know, until they fast, and at which point they will eventually need less. Okay, so that's what I find that works. There may be some comments. I see Kisarat just made a comment. He's fasted with me. Monthly subscription. Okay, he's talking about something else here. All right, let me go back because Krasimir has made a 10 Bulgarian donation and said, Loren, hello, Loren, have a great day. Is it necessary to combine fat with leafy greens for better absorption? No, it's not. You don't have to eat any concentrated fat with leafy greens in order to absorb the nutrients in the leafy greens. There are nutrients which are fat soluble. This is what the basis of this question is. There are nutrients which are fat soluble, and so are only going to be absorbed in the presence of dietary fat. But every single living food contains fat. It doesn't contain a lot, perhaps. I mean, some don't contain a lot, but we don't need very much. So, for instance, leafy greens, I mean, so let me back up. Protein is the building block of living cells, and fat is what the nucleus is made of. So every cell contains both fat and protein. You don't need very much in order to be able to absorb these nutrients. So, I mean, I do eat avocados when I eat leafy greens most of the time, unless I'm eating leafy greens with fruit. Like, you know, I might have, for instance, bananas wrapped in lettuce. I don't eat that very often, but every once in a while. I don't often eat lettuce with other fruit meals. My body's very happy having lettuce 3 times a week in a big salad on average, and that's pretty much all I eat of lettuce. That's not going to work for everyone. You know, again, I've fasted many, many, many times, and so what works for me may or may not work for you. But for my body, that works pretty well. Some people are, I mean, I tell most clients that they should eat a large green salad every day until their body clearly says that's enough, I don't need anymore. Okay, and for many people, I mean, I guess it varies how long that's going to take to get to that point. Okay, so yeah. By the way, I saw Natasha's comment, and I see that Kisra, thank you. I see you helped there answering that. I'm not sure what you said. One of the YouTube takes a cut from the donations. So does Patreon. They both do. That's not different. We're not recommending Patreon because YouTube takes a cut. The cut is actually, I think, if I remember correctly, maybe greater on Patreon. One of the differences, one of the reasons that we're offering Patreon is because some people can't use, well, first of all, there's a couple things. One, with Patreon, you can sign up and make a monthly donation, a recurring donation, and there are people that choose to do that. That's fantastic, and we appreciate that very much. It means you don't have to worry about being here. You want to contribute, but maybe you can't be here. Doesn't matter. You're already making a contribution, and if you're doing that, you can watch you can be here whenever you want, and not feel like you have to contribute again. There are some places where the super chat feature, the ability to donate on YouTube, doesn't work in some countries. I have people that tell me all the time that they want to contribute but aren't able to, and so Patreon allows anyone to contribute. That's the primary reason that we've done it, so that we have people that are they're writing to me regularly saying, "Hey, I want to contribute. I'm not able to do this. Why not? Can you, what can you do?" So we've got Patreon now up and running. Okay, Those Love Songs is here and has a question. She says, "I'm saying she. I don't know. I don't know if I know who you are. I'd like to know who you are." Says, "Good morning, Loren." The answer is yes. It's a beautiful morning. I hope you're having a fantastic morning. I've had a great week so far and up for a great weekend. Next week, I do expect to be broadcasting live as usual, but I'll be in a different place. I'm actually going to go spend a few days at the beach. I'm still working 6 to 8 hours every day, but now it may be even more than that. I mean, I've got some drawings to work on, some plans for some construction. I've got some financial documents to work on for the big project. There's those kinds of things that are always, those are things that need to happen that I haven't been able to do. But I won't have any clients for the first time in almost 6 months to here, at least, to supervise. I still have people via Skype, but I don't need to be here for those people. I won't have to be directing my staff here every day because I won't be here to direct them. We will have some projects going on here. I will have to stay in touch with the staff to make sure that things are going as they should be. But I'm always reachable. So anyway, you might see me in a different location next week. Krasimir is back. Thank you so much. Those Love Songs. Krasimir is back with another 10 Bulgarian and says, "Thank you. Recently ate some coconuts and felt great. Is it optimal to eat coconut from time to time?" Well, first of all, as many of you may realize already, coconut flesh hardens over time in the coconut. So young coconuts are coconuts where the flesh is still relatively soft, and that's going to be the easiest to digest. Okay, once it's hard, that thick, hard coconut flesh, that's pretty hard to digest. That's like eating unsoaked nuts or seeds, and I'd recommend avoiding it. The cleaner and more efficient your body is, the less fat it tends to want. And so my body is happy with a very small amount of young coconut flesh. If I eat much more than that, it would prefer that I don't. And so I eat relatively few concentrated fats most of the time. And I find that avocado is by far the easiest for my body. I think for most people I work with say the same thing. Nuts and seeds are much harder. Coconuts, technically, according to botany, coconuts are fruits, but they really function more like nuts than fruits. And so I find most people do better avoiding coconuts most of the time. Okay? All right, hope that helps. Coconut water, by the way, is perfectly fine to consume. Okay, coconut water is perfectly fine. Now, I prefer to consume coconut water not between meals, the way some people do, snacking on it all the time, but rather as a meal. And because of that, I don't consume it very often. Now, today, I've got to go to town. I've got to go talk to some folks at the bank. There are several errands I need to run, some things I need to take care of before I leave here on Monday. And so this is my last business day to take care of those things. I'm going to go do that this afternoon. It's hot there. And I won't be wearing long sleeves. Again, I'm dressed like this because I'm recording every morning now, something where I want to look a little bit more presentable, just a little bit more formal. Not formal exactly, but it's still pretty informal, but more formal than I normally look. When I leave here to go to town, I'll be dressed in more comfortable cooler, clothes that are less, that cover my skin less. But it's still hot enough that I might want to drink something cold. So I'll often have a cold coconut. Sometimes if I catch the guy at the right time, I might get a cane juice. That's a juice made from sugar cane. It's delicious. It's mostly water, but it's quite sweet. I put a little bit of lemon in there, so it's not too sweet. Doesn't work for me. Every once in a while, but no more than once every couple of months. Usually, it might be a smoothie. That's not very common for me. Usually, it's going to be coconut water instead. Much easier for the body. Okay, Hama Agus. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly or if it's Gemma, and I apologize. If you were Latino, and I'm guessing you're not from your last name, it would be Hama. If you're from the UK, it would be Gemma, perhaps. Anyway, I'm going to guess Gemma. Gemma has made a Canadian. Well, if you're Canadian, I don't know how you pronounce it. But Gemma says, made a $6.99 contribution and said, "Hey, Loren, I'm so grateful for everything you do. I was just wondering what your thoughts are on B12 supplements. Also, what about eating onions?" Okay, thank you so much. It's interesting you asked those two questions together because onions are natural antibiotics and B12 is produced by bacteria. And so the first thing I'd recommend is not eating any onions, not eating any garlic, not taking any antibiotics unless you absolutely need to. I've been in several circumstances, and as you may have heard from the past or from some of my videos in the past, where I've been told you need antibiotics. A couple of things that come to mind. When Diablo, my now big black cat, was getting neutered about 6 years ago, 6+, he's 7.5 years old, so 6.5 years ago, he bit my little finger. I was holding him. He'd already been neutered. He wound up not recovering very well, had an infection, needed to take antibiotics. They were injected into his groin. It must have been very painful. We played rough, but he never hurt me. He bit down so hard I had 5 deep puncture wounds in my little finger, and it swelled up to the size of my thumb. The veterinarian standing there with me said, "You need antibiotics." I said, "Yeah, not going to happen. This cat's saliva is not very clean." I ran into him again the next day. He sees this big swollen thing. He says, "You need antibiotics." I said, "That's not going to happen." I fasted. In my case, 3 days was enough, completely gone. The swelling, the infection, completely healed, no antibiotics. I had a botfly infestation in my wrist. The larvae are laid on the skin. They burrow into your skin. They eat your flesh. It's painful. Most people, I have about 15 employees here. No one's ever had a botfly infestation that I know of. I've had them twice in the nearly 16 years I've lived in the tropics. Maybe they prefer gringo flesh. I don't know. But anyway, I had a situation where I had one or more botfly larvae inside my skin eating the flesh, and I was able to kill them, suffocate them. You can cover the hole and put Vaseline or something, put a piece of tape. They can't breathe. They die. Normally you can squeeze them out. I couldn't get them out. I have a nurse on staff. We couldn't get them out. So I wound up, and she said to me, if you can't get them out, it's going to get infected. You're going to need antibiotics. Eventually a doctor is going to have to do a little minor surgery and take them out. And I said, yeah, no antibiotics for me. I wound up fasting. My body was able to get rid of them completely. And it was, within 3 or 4 days now, gone. Like no pain, no anything. There was obviously still a hole that needed some time to heal, to close up. But, I avoid antibiotics wherever possible because they are harmful to us and potentially dangerous because they're destroying the bacteria in the gut and throughout the body, but especially in the gut, which we need. We need them to function properly. Now, in the biome, right, in the intestines, we have this community of bacteria that live there, said to be around 10 trillion bacteria. It's 3 pounds. So your biome is as big as your brain, okay? This collection of bacteria. And They produce all the B12 we need every single day. Now, most people on the planet aren't getting that B12, but it's not because it's not bioavailable. It's because their bodies aren't working properly. And this is true for vegans, for vegetarians, and for meat eaters. Most people eating animal products are deficient in B12, even though they're eating tons of it. We don't need to eat any of it. We can easily get all we need from what's being produced in the body if the body's working properly. Okay, so now, having said all that, B12 deficiency can create some very serious issues. And so until you get your body truly clean and healthy, you need to check. You know, if you're experiencing any symptoms, it would make sense to check and make sure that you don't have a problem, and to supplement if you do. And the best way, I believe, is a sublingual supplement. You can get injections. The problem is they're not absorbed very well. So usually what works best is sublingual. That's under the tongue. And, you know, it's a Band-Aid approach. I don't think you want to be in a position where you have to do this the rest of your life. The best way is to actually get your body clean and healthy so that it's functioning as well as possible, because when we do that, we usually get what we need. So I have never supplemented with B12. I've been a vegan now for almost 35 years. I've never taken a supplement of B12. I've taken no supplements of any kind now for 28 plus years. But there should be no reason to use B12 supplements once the body is working properly. And that's the key. The key is we have to get the body actually working properly. Okay? All right, so there's no more super chats for the time being. Notice I'm leaving open the possibility that you could still do a super chat if you want to. We still have some time here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll back down here and see who I missed earlier. Any comments here? Okay. zbubs says if 3 liters a day I need. Oh, we just got another super chat, but I'm going to finish this if I can figure out where it was. Again, I just lost it. What happened? There we go. Okay. If 3 liters a day I need, how optimal is sipping it versus chugging it in 20 equal size amounts? Sipping is so much work. Yeah, when we chug it, it passes right through into the bladder and we pee most of it out. So the faster you drink, the smaller the percentage of what you're consuming actually winds up in your bloodstream. And that's the idea, is to get the water to the bloodstream so your body can allocate it where it wants it to use it. If it's going into your bladder, it's not helping you, and we're losing tiny amounts of electrolytes each time. Your kidney's job is to keep whatever they want, but nothing's 100% efficient. So chugging is a bad idea. This is how we should be drinking, like this. Okay, this glass of water has been sitting here now for 4.5 hours that I've been working this morning, and that's how much. Well, actually, it wasn't full when I started. I neglected to fill it up. It was dark, and I ran it for a moment and thought it was, probably close to full. It was only about that full. But anyway, what you need. I mean, I'm not saying you drink that slowly. You can drink up to 1 glass per hour, but it has to be sipped slowly over the course of the hour because it's the pace at which you're drinking. So if in this moment I drink, let's say, the rest of that, and I drink it down in 10 seconds, then let's say that's roughly 20% of a liter. Okay, this would be roughly half a liter. Let's say that's roughly 20% of a liter. If I drink that in 10 seconds, okay, 1/5 of a liter in 10 seconds, then that's like I'm drinking 1.2 liters per minute. And that's more than 65 times faster than your body can actually process water through your kidneys. So you're gonna hurt yourself. Okay, you're gonna wind up losing more electrolytes and putting yourself in some danger. I wouldn't do. I mean, obviously people chug water, but they're losing electrolytes every time they do that. It's less of an issue when you're eating because you're replacing electrolytes with your meals, but it's not helping you. You're just giving your body more work to do to replace those. So it's much better. I mean, the water you chug, most of it, you're just peeing right out. Okay, you're much better off drink more slowly, you can actually get away with drinking a little bit less water. You still need to drink probably 3 liters a day at least, but drink it slowly so your body can actually use it. That's just what works. I mean, ultimately, and this is the thing, it's not, I don't talk about what's right and wrong. I don't really believe that I'm qualified to judge what's right and wrong. Maybe you think you are. I don't know. I mean, I get judged all the time by people every day online. Okay. Most of us judge other people all the time. I do my best not to, but I still do. But I'm being judged all the time. But I don't want to say, well, this is the right thing or the best thing or that's wrong. What I'm saying is, if you're chugging your water, you're putting yourself in potential danger. You're not getting the benefit of the most water. It's just not effective. I'd rather talk about what works and what doesn't work. Okay? Everything I teach is based on what's actually worked for thousands of people that I've worked with. I mean, everyone who actually follows it, most people see amazing results. If you do something different, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you're not going to get the same results. Okay. By the way, folks, if you're enjoying this so far, today, feel free to give it a thumbs up. That would be good. We have a super chat here from Alexis De Prato. Thank you so much, Alexis. Alexis has made a €5.49 contribution and said, hello, Loren. What's best for clearing the skin under shower, for cleaning the skin under shower? Soap, clay, just warm water. Actually use honey, but find it unfair to bees. Thanks. Yeah, I agree. By the way, for anyone who doesn't understand what Alexis is talking about, bees make honey for themselves. Okay? They make honey for themselves. This is their food for when there's no food available. If you eat honey or use honey, put it on your body, you're making them work harder. And by the way, if you're buying commercially produced honey, it's much worse because those bees are fed sugar water. Okay? And sugar water, that is taking water and adding refined sugar. It's not good for you. It's not good for any species. Okay, no species should consume sugar water, but that's what bees are being fed. Commercial bees, commercially produced honey is fed that way. You can follow wild-crafted honey, where the bees are actually allowed to go and get nectar. There you go, nectar from flowers. Okay, and that's what honey should be made from. It's going to be much better honey. It's going to have more nutrients. I mean, I don't think honey is the best thing for us to eat because it is simple. It's a relatively simple carbohydrate, which means high glycemic load. That causes work for your body to maintain its own blood sugar. And I don't believe that we ethically really have the right to do that. We don't need honey. Why use it? So I don't use it. What I use and have used now for 30 years is water, and only water, nothing else. I don't use soap, don't use shampoo, don't use deodorant, don't use toothpaste. Find most of those products are completely unnecessary. And because most products contain ingredients you really don't want in your bloodstream, and what you put on your bloodstream is absorbed into the body, I prefer to avoid those ingredients completely. So I simply don't use those things. Okay, I simply don't buy them and don't use them. Of course, everyone has the right to do as they choose, but my recommendation, Alexis, I think what you're going to find is actually best is water, because the idea is to stop trying to manipulate the body, right? Just water will allow your body to eliminate whatever skin, surface, dirt, is whatever is there, excess oils. Water should take most of that off, and then the body's able to stay balanced. As soon as we begin adding other things to it, we're affecting the chemistry, and we may be creating something that we don't really want to create. By the way, with organic products, okay, now obviously if you're buying products from someone that who is making them themselves, that's different. But if you're going to the shop, I do use an organic shave cream. Right now I'm just using a bar of shaving soap, but I usually use this organic shave cream, which comes in a tube. It's made here locally in Costa Rica, And it's one of the only things I buy. I shave down here and I shave a little bit up here. And unfortunately, the laws are written so that the manufacturers only have to put on the label anything that constitutes 1% of the total or more. And that means there could be ingredients there that you don't know about. You don't know what you're putting on. You don't know what it is, okay? If you go to environmentalworkinggroup.org, they have a directory where you can look for any personal, they pretty much, they do their best to list every personal care product that's available commercially. So you can look up any brand. Now, in some cases, they don't have much information because the manufacturers won't give them information. What they do is they go to every manufacturer and they say, can I get a list of all the ingredients in your products, in each product? And then they show what's in the product, how likely that is to cause cancer, right? Because the truth is that these chemicals in some of these products are carcinogenic compounds, or compounds that tend to create all kinds of problems for our health. And so far better not to use them if you can. Now, it's important to understand when you're ready for that. I'll never forget, many years ago, I had been in, I used to go to Vancouver, British Columbia at least once a year to speak. And I did a weekend seminar there. And I came back maybe 4 or 5 months later to be one of the keynote speakers at a big event put on by Earth Save International. It was John Robbins and I. And anyway, it was, there's thousands of people there. I was excited to be there. And I stayed at the same place I always stayed at, which was a house. I think it was called the Love House, something like that. It was a group of adults. They were all ex-members of Osho's community, and they lived together in community in a big mansion. Each of them had a suite. It was a giant place. I mean, there were 3 or 4 spaces in the house where we could fit 30 people. So depending on the event, we would use different spaces. And they would usually put me up. They had an extra suite. So I have a room and my own bathroom, and I would stay there. They became good friends. They would sponsor the events. They would organize them and go out there and market them, and I would just show up and speak. And so whenever I was in town, that's where I would stay. And one day I get a call from someone who knew I was in town, and I get on the phone. This young man says, Loren, he says, I don't know if you remember me. My name is, whatever, I don't remember. And I was at your weekend seminar, 4 or 5 months ago. And I wanted to see if you might be willing to have lunch with me. And now, when I'm traveling and speaking, I have work to do. There's always work for me to catch up on. There's never enough time. I like to have some downtime. I'm an introvert, so I recharge by myself or with intimate, with people that I'm intimate with. I can hang out with people I know well enough, but with strangers, with people I don't know very well, that takes energy from me, right? That's just the way we're wired, introverts. So I wasn't really all that excited about having lunch with some young guy that I didn't really know very well. He wasn't a friend. It wasn't like that. But he said those magic words, right? He said, I have fresh durian. Fresh durian, one of my favorite things. Durian is the tropical fruit from Southeast Asia. It's amazing when it's good. And fresh, they're like $50, $60 each. He said, I've got some fresh durian. I said, come on over. And he joined me for lunch that day. He walked around the corner of the building, and I could, from like 50 feet away, I could smell him coming. And he comes over to me and says, and at the weekend seminar, I was teaching about cleansing the body and how a clean body doesn't need deodorant, soap, etc. I mean, the women I date usually tell me that I smell like fruit, if anything. I mean, there's typically no discernible body odor. It's not like people have a hard time being around me. That's not what happens when the body's clean. So he comes over and he says, guess what? I said, what? He said, I stopped using soap and shampoo and deodorant. I said, I know. And it might be a little bit premature, okay? Because you can do that. I mean, maybe if you don't like people and don't have to be around people, it's fine. But if you care about people and you have to be near people, you might not want to do that until your body's actually had a chance to cleanse. Okay, once it's clean, there's no need for those products. But until then, they're still going to come in handy. Okay. We have a super chat here from Oliver Marcel. Oliver Marcel Beauregard. I'm guessing there's, well, I don't know how to pronounce that. I apologize. DKK, is that, I think that's a Danish kroner, if I'm not mistaken. And there are 17 of them. Thank you so much, Oliver. I appreciate that. There's a question here. Could you talk a bit about reactive hypoglycemia? Is it something that's curable from fasting? Your dietary views? Yeah, no question about it. I mean, so if you're not familiar with this, first of all, hypoglycemia means, hypo means low, glycemia is referring to blood sugar. So hypoglycemia is low blood sugar. And reactive hypoglycemema is low blood sugar caused by your body's reaction. So I'm looking for a blank piece of paper here. I'll probably wind up writing on the back of something. I've got folders I don't really want to use. Here we go. Here's my pay sheets. I'm good. Just what I wanted to look at. I got to make payroll every week. So reactive hypoglycemia, I'm going to show you here. I don't think I have any markers, unfortunately. I don't know if this pen is going to show up very well, but it's all I have. So maybe I'll see if a black one will be a little darker. So reactive hypoglycemia. You eat something with a lot of sugar. Let's say when I was a kid, we would spend our summer vacations, 3 or 4 weeks at the beach every year. And one night, my parents would take us to the boardwalk, and they would allow us to eat anything, because my mother was really particular about what we could eat. We didn't have junk food in the house, like it was like that, super clean. I mean, I grew up eating, if I wanted a snack, it was fruit. Dessert was often fruit, which is a bad idea, putting fruit on top of other food. But my mother was doing her best. That's all she knew. My phone ringing. So she was doing the best she could, but it was not a very good idea. But anyway, my mother on that night would allow us to buy anything, and I would go buy myself like a pound of fudge, and I would eat as much of it as I could, because I knew, the next day I wasn't going to be able to have any more. That was my one chance, right? It's interesting, because now I really don't like things that are super sweet like that. But if you don't know what fudge is, it's a candy. It's like sugar. I don't know what else. I think it's sugar, and then more sugar, and probably some sugar. And maybe there's other stuff in there too. But anyway, you eat something like that, blood sugar spikes. So I'm going to make the line as dark as I can. Blood sugar spikes, and then it plummets, because your body, and I'm going to show you this, and then I'll talk about it again. Your body floods the bloodstream with insulin, and so it plummets again. Okay, so here's what it looks like. Okay, I'm glad you can see that. All right, so you eat something here, blood sugar spikes. Your body says, oh crap, this is an emergency. There's a lot of sugar, like too much. This could be a problem. And it floods the bloodstream with insulin. So normally, here, let me show you this. Let's say at the same point in time, someone eats fruit, and here's what happens instead, typically. Okay, the line's not as dark. I think you'll still be able to see it. Okay, so see this curve here? You eat some fruit at the same point, your blood sugar goes up gently, your body says, okay, need a little bit of insulin, puts it in, and then it comes back down. There is no dramatic changes. There's no reactions occurring, okay? But, when I would go eat all that fudge, boom, right? I had friends, their parents, some kids who lived down the street from us, that both their parents were doctors, and they weren't home a lot of the time. And the kids would eat sugar with a spoon, just spoon sugar into their mouth, pure sugar. I can imagine what was happening to their blood sugar, right? Boom. The body says, oh, this is a problem, floods the bloodstream with insulin, blood sugar crashes, okay? And then it comes back over time. And people with reactive hypoglycemia complain about this. Like, I'm hypoglycemic. Yeah, you're causing it. You're causing it with this. They don't complain about this part of the cycle. Why not? This is where they feel energized, because they're eating all this sugar, something, this converted sugar, which they feel energetic and like wired at that point. Okay, that's what's happening. You can actually eliminate this by simply cleaning up your diet in most cases. But fasting 100% of the time, you'll eliminate this problem by fasting. And then if afterward you follow the diet I give you, perfect, no problem whatsoever. Okay, it's not an issue. I mean, this shouldn't be happening, but it happens all the time. In fact, I mean, there was a time there where hypoglycemia, you know, it varies. I mean, these days, everyone's got SIBO, right? And, you know, 10 years ago, everybody had hypoglycemia. And the truth was that most of them had reactive hypoglycemia. They were causing this problem because of what they were doing. So it's almost 10 o'clock, and I see we have one more super chat here from Alexis. Again, Alexis DePronto, another €5.49. And she says, is gently brushing the skin with a soft brush okay to clean the skin? It is. You can do that. I don't use a brush, but I use a washcloth. In the US, we have these little tiny towels like this, sometimes called a face cloth. It's made of terry cloth like a regular towel, but it's a small version. And I take it into the shower with me, and you know, I just very gently rub my skin. And that's all. I do the same thing with my face. With my face, I use just cool water normally. That's all I use. But a gentle brush is perfectly fine, Alexis. And thank you again for the other contribution. So, all right, folks, I've got to go. I've got a 10 o'clock call. It's going to come in just a second. If I don't go ahead and pick it up and make it first, someone else is going to start the call. And then I've got all this noise in my ear. So I'm going to jump off here and get onto that call. Again, if you've enjoyed this session, this live broadcast, and haven't already given it a thumbs up, please do. Please feel free to share this recording, which will be up in just a few minutes. You can share this on your channels, on your Facebook page, anywhere you'd like. You know, let other people know this is happening every week and might be beneficial to them. Please feel free to do that. If you're listening to the recording and you missed it earlier, Patreon is now up. If you go to Patreon and look for Loren Lockman, you can make a contribution, and you can't make a super chat contribution on the recording, only while it's actually live. So with Patreon, there's no limits to when you can record that, donate. That's the other thing, is that donations with the super chat are limited to the hour that I'm actually here live with you. Whereas Patreon, people can watch this anytime and say, oh, you know what, I want to make a contribution. You can go and do that. That would be very much appreciated. Now, I'm aware, I mentioned last week and the week before, I was going to be sharing details with you about the upcoming English Creating Perfect Health online seminar. Decided to hold off on that for another week or two. We just have so much going on right now that I realized it was going to be crazy for me to try to pull all that together, among other things, you know, figure out dates and times and etc. So it's coming, it's still coming, but we're going to put it off a little bit longer. We've been working super hard on the Academy for Vibrant Living, super hard on the Skype fasting, the new Skype fasting program. We now have all that being programmed, and that should be up and running, hopefully within just a few weeks, although we'll probably want to test it. What else? Lots of other cool things going on. So anyway, folks, it's been wonderful spending this hour with you. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm always glad to be here with you. I appreciate your questions. I appreciate your contributions. I appreciate your presence. In fact, you know what? I appreciate you, and I'm glad to be here with you. I look forward to seeing you again next time. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.